what we gotta watch, what we gotta watch. Paul Match TV. What we gotta watch, what we gotta watch, what we gotta watch. Paul Match TV. What we gotta watch, what we gotta watch, what we gotta watch. Paul Match TV. What we gotta watch, what we gotta watch, what we gotta watch. Paul Match TV. What we gotta watch, what we gotta watch. Yeah, buddy, that's right. Get exposure right now. Holler at the homie Paul Mash, man, for Paul Mash TV. Hit up Paul Mash TV across all social media sites, alright? Who we got next? Got next.
Well, hello there, it's Paul Mash TV time again, and we're glad that you could join us today. And if you like the show so far, just hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, and you'll always get the latest interviews whenever they become available. And feel free to check on one of the first comments. I have merchandise. You can check those links and get you a cap or a t-shirt. You can also check out my Facebook page, facebook.com/PaulMashTV. And like the page, inbox me, comment on the post you see, and we'd love to hear from you there. And then there's good old-fashioned email, paulmashtv@gmail.com. And you can use that not just for fan mail, but for bands or solo artists. And we'll write back to you real soon. And we have an official web address too, and we'll give you that address and recap everything we just said here at the closing credits at the end of the show. So stay tuned for that. In just a moment, we're going to have Rapology. He's from Melbourne, Australia. And he's a very awesome musician, and I think you'll agree with me on that. And we'll get to that in just a second, but here's a word from Click Jam. Don't go away.
We got history, got me feeling the nostalgia when you look at me, thinking about what could.
All right, it's time for interview time, and with us from Melbourne, Australia, we have Rapology. Thanks for joining us, Rap.
No worries. What's going on?
Oh, not a heck of a lot. Glad that you could join us. And Rapology and I have been friends for quite a long time, and we just never got around to doing the interview, but we're finally doing it tonight, so that's a good thing, I guess. So.
Yeah, that's right.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you decided you wanted to become a musician? Everybody has their own story. Let's hear your story on it.
Well, I started off, would have been around 2003. So I was heavily influenced by a lot of underground music at the time. So I wasn't really vibing with what was like the commercial thing at the time. I was more listening to your underground artists. I was heavily influenced by Tupac's Outlaw Immortals. I was listening to a lot of that sort of underground music. I was listening to a lot of Spice One, Yuck Mouth, even Tech Nine. Like Crooked Eye was another artist that I followed. And I was following artists that people at the time weren't usually following. So even like people like Lil Wayne, and I even remember when the Game came out in the scene, that when they had that strong underground presence, that I was like kind of listening to that music. But I was also heavily influenced by the hip hop scene here in Australia. So I was listening to a lot of artists that were only making names for themselves, or starting to come up on the scene in Australia, like Bliss and Esso and Hilltop Hoods. Now, in 2003 in Australia, hip hop was at a very early stage of development. It was in its infancy, and there weren't like too many people making good quality hip hop music here in Australia, or bringing out albums for that matter. So I was more listening to the American rap scene, and namely a lot of Cali artists, West Coast artists. So that was the primary influence for me. And you know, I got involved in music and started recording, releasing mixtapes. Then, as the years went by, I started collaborating with a lot of American artists. When I tuned my skills and got my skills up. Eventually, I came across Tristan Overgaard, Luke the Smoke, as you all know him, and we started making music together. And you know, I've collaborated with a lot of artists in my time. I've worked with Tupac's Outlaws. I've actually had, you know, the honor to work with these guys in the studio in person. I've worked with a lot of well-known artists, especially a lot of artists that work with Tupac. I've worked with Nutso and Gonzo, to name a few. I've networked in my time with a lot of artists because I used to be in the same sort of industry that you're in now with interviewing artists. So I got into that side of the music. And my channel, MC Rapology News, like started growing a few years ago. And unfortunately, the powers that be in the industry, the competition that I was faced with, they shut my channel down because my channel was growing exponentially. It was becoming too well known in the industry. I was competing with the likes of DJ Vlad, DJ Academics, and even MTV and like TMZ. So many different channels where I was in competition with. Now, when a channel grows and becomes too powerful in the music scene is controlled by a lot of, I'd say, maleficent people that don't like competition. They don't like the underdog coming up and taking their business away. So I got a lot of offers from the competitors to join them in what I was doing because I was very good at actually making a name for myself, not with just my music, but also growing the name of a lot of underground artists. And I was expanding my channel. I was getting 2-3 million views a day sometimes on some of my video interviews that I was doing. And at the same time, I was making a name for my own music because a lot of artists were giving me shout outs. And that's when the trouble started. That's when I started realizing that there's a lot of shadiness going on in the music scene. I experienced that myself in my own Aussie hip hop scene back when I was like doing shows and making music. But I saw the how pronounced it was in the American scene and how shady the music industry can be, and how there's a lot of people controlling the scene that they don't like artists like myself, like becoming big. And if they do, they want a piece of the pie. They want the money that artist is making. They basically want to pimp the artist out, and they get a lot of artists in positions where they sign contracts that aren't in their favor, and they take away from the artist at the end of the day. And one of the reasons I decided to join Wise Guys Global, because it's one of the most genuine labels out there, and it has some of the most genuine artists involved that are simply about making music. And it's something that it's hard to come by in the music scene, because a lot of people in the music scene, they're all about themselves. They're all about making money. But Wise Guys is very different. It's about supporting the artists, about growing the artists, about doing the right thing by the artist. And that's why I'll always represent Wise Guys Global. And, I'll give a big shout out to Tristan Overgard, Urge 7, Doe Fresh the Dawn, Danny Script, Split Personality, Rock Box and Nephew Michael, all those guys, top blokes, and I'm down with the movement for as long as I'm doing this music.
Okay. Yeah, that's a pretty good story there. And as you mentioned, Loc to Smoke and Doe to Dawn and Script and Split and all them, obviously I've interviewed some of them myself, and they're very talented musicians in their own right. So I appreciate all those shout outs, and I'm sure they'd appreciate that. So what can you tell me about your music? I mean, I'm sure it's on all streaming platforms, but maybe you got physical copies too. Maybe you can let us know about that.
Well, I've also got to give a shout out to Mystery, because he's another genuine person who I'm working with, another artist, and he's from my city. And so basically now I'm working on a mixtape. But previously I released an album. It's called The Last of a Rare Kind, which people can find on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. And yeah, I've got a few compilation songs out there. But right now I'm in the process of working on this mixtape, Mystery. So hopefully that gets a release this year. And I'm going to continue doing collaborations, because that's like part of what I like doing. I'm a sessional artist. I'm not so much into doing shows anymore. I'm more about collaborating and that's what I kind of want to focus on. Yeah, giving feature verses to artists, and I don't do this for money. Like, there's no money in it for me. Like, I'm all about just doing it for the passion and the creative side of music. It's not about the money for me, because if it was about the money, I wouldn't be doing music. Because there's not much money in music anymore.
Okay, yeah, you do have a point there, and you said you can get that in just about all the streaming platforms, then.
Yeah, that's right. Rapology, the last of a rare kind.
All right. And speaking of your music, I think we got a video coming up from you in just a moment. It's called Shades of Grey, I do believe.
Yep.
Is there a story behind that? And maybe you could tell us a little bit about the song too.
So that song I recorded. I was in a dark place. I wanted to make something that was, had a depth of emotion to it. So I started writing lyrics, and they just flowed, and it made for good music. Like, that place I was in, I kind of just write how I'm feeling at the time, and the music is emotive, it's deep, it's soulful. And that's what hip hop is about to me. So I don't like necessarily making just like rap. I like more soulful hip hop. I'm heavily influenced by artists like Vinnie Paz. Yeah, that's what it's about, for me. And Mercules, he's another influence on me. Young Noble from the Outlaws. So that's what I do.
Okay. Well, I've heard the song. That's pretty good. And as always, I'm sure all of my viewers out there will enjoy watching that. So we'll just get to that in just a moment. But just want to let you know, Rapology, we appreciate you being on the show. We'd love to have you back sometime if you ever have anything new for us.
Anytime.
Okay. Okay, well, we'll just get straight to that video then. Here's Shades of Grey from Rapology on Paul Nash TV. Don't go away.
I don't know where to start. I put my pen to a page and trying to find the words I feel disengaged with everything around. I don't know what to say. Some days I wanna quit and throw everything away. I got an apathy for life and nearly everything around. Like I'm looking at the world and it's dark as hell. Does it really make sense? Nothing matters in the end. Feeling really weak inside and I'm going round the bend. It's a torturous state to feel nothing inside. Try walking my shoes, you might end your life. I'm not meaning to be bleak, I'm just trying to stay real on how I really feel. It's my true reveal. Every thought in my head is now pressing me. I feel left alone on this journey on my own. Everybody that I know is now slowly moving on. I'm alone in this song until I'm dead and gone. Looking at the sky and it's dark as night. Trying to find hope, it seems missing from my life. Like I'm listening to music and the melody is gone. Like I'm trying to paint a picture with no clarity at all. Looking at the sky and it's dark as night. Trying to find hope, it seems missing from my life. Like I'm listening to music and the melody is gone. Like I'm trying to paint a picture with no clarity at all. Trying to write a happy song, but I'm singing the blues. I need a little Johnny Cash as I turn up the tunes. A song comes to mind that really compliments the mood. Now I'm tearing up to hurt, like my pain is being moved. Every lyric that I'm hearing, I'm not doing too well. Reflecting on my life and the emptiness I dwell. In the pits of despair, have you ever been there? I mean, really been there, when nobody cares. I've been through the worst, there's nothing that I fear. There's nothing you can tell me on God that you hear. If there is such a thing, God help us all. Better talk to me now, cause all I hear is Saul. And he might be the devil in a world of despair, where misery reigns with artistic flair. Is there meaning to this world? Do we live just to die? I hope my soul lives on when I leave this life. Looking at the sky and it's dark as night. Trying to find hope, it seems missing from my life. Like I'm listening to music and the melody is gone. Like I'm trying to paint a picture with no clarity at all. Looking at the sky and it's dark as night. Trying to find hope, it seems missing from my life. Like I'm listening to music and the melody lost in thought. I'm thinking bad things, inside me it's a war. Between me and hope, I'm a bum dying broke. I want more in life before the show's over, yo. I don't know what's wrong with my goddamn self. I'm weak inside in my man-made hell. I really don't know if any meds will help. I need energy in life to make me well, to make me well, to make me well. Looking at the sky and it's dark as night, trying to find hope that seems missing from my life. Like I'm listening to music and the melody is gone. Like I'm trying to paint a picture with no clarity at all. Looking at the sky and it's dark as night,